Since so many classic Hollywood leading men and women served in the military, it makes sense there would be quite a few film and TV stars buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Join Factsverse as we take a moment to pay our respects to the Hollywood celebrities buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Lee Marvin. This actor, known for his booming bass voice and prematurely gray hair, often played tough, no-nonsense gruff characters. He got his start acting in 1950 and kept at it for more than 3 decades before retiring in 1968. When he wasn't on set or in front of a camera, Marvin was well known for his off-the-wall and often reckless behavior, but when it came time to work, he was always a team player. He also ensured his co-stars gave their best. Likely, this was a result of his military background. Initially, Marvin was typecast in villainous roles, but later rose to prominence for playing anti-heroes like Detective Lieutenant Frank Ballinger on NBC's M Squad. A few of his other notable parts include playing Charlie Strom in The Killers, Rico Fardon in The Professionals, and Ben Rumson in Paint Your Wagon. After playing the gunfighter hero Kid Shalene and the criminal Tim Strawn in the 1965 Western comedy Cat Ballou, Marvin was honored with the Academy Award for Best Actor, as well as a BAFTA, Golden Globe, and several other honors. Marvin was a heavy smoker and drinker. These vices led to him having a number of health problems towards the end of his life. In 1986, when he retired from acting, Marvin was hospitalized for the better part of 2 weeks for a respiratory condition. After going into respiratory distress, doctors were forced to administer steroids to help with his breathing. This treatment, unfortunately, led to him experiencing a major intestinal rupture, which caused him to have to undergo a colostomy. Several months later, on August 29, 1987, he died of a heart attack at age 63. Due to his years of service in the Marine Corps, Marvin was given an honorable funeral with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. During his time serving his country, Marvin served as a sniper in the Pacific Theater during the Second World War. Later on, he participated in 21 Japanese island landings and was wounded in action when he was shot by machine gun June 18, 1944. This was during the Battle of Saipan. For his valor, he was decorated with the Purple Heart, the Presidential Unit Citation, the American Campaign Medal, and several other prestigious honors. Jackie Cooper. This actor, TV director, producer, and executive got his start as a child actor. In fact, he was the first child to receive an Oscar nod. When he was 9, he became the youngest actor to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for his appearance in the 1931 film Skippy. For half a century, Cooper remained the youngest Oscar nominee in any category. During World War II, Cooper served in the U.S. Navy. He remained in the reserves until 1982 when he retired with the rank of captain. He was awarded the Legion of Merit. Upon returning from the war, Cooper made his way back to Hollywood, but instead of acting, he eventually turned to directing. He re-enlisted in the Naval Reserve in 1961. At first, he was simply appearing in Naval Reserve recruitment ads, but eventually he was convinced to rejoin. During his time in the Navy, Cooper made training films and promotions, but declined to promote the Vietnam War due to his personal feelings about the conflict. Cooper died in 2011 and was buried at Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors. Priscilla Lane. Actress Priscilla Lane was best known for roles in Hitchcock's Saboteur, the Four Daughters trilogy, and Arsenic and Old Lace. In 1942, she met and married Army Air Force Lieutenant Joseph Howard. After tying the knot with her new husband, Lane took a suspension from Warner Brothers so she could travel with her spouse from base to base until he was shipped off overseas to fight in World War II. After getting married to Howard, Lane turned down numerous film role offers while explaining her marriage was a 24/7 job. She didn't return to acting until 1947 when she appeared in Fun on a Weekend. After the war ended, Lane and Howard moved to Van Nuys, California, where Joseph worked as a contractor. They later moved to a lakefront home in Massachusetts. They had 4 children together: Joseph, Judith, Hannah, and James. Lane eventually did some commercial work and briefly had a morning talk show in Boston called The Priscilla Lane Show. In 1972, Lane and her family moved to the Howard family farm in Derry, New Hampshire. Howard passed away at 61 in 1976 and was buried in Arlington National Cemetery. In 1994, Lane was diagnosed with lung cancer. After refusing radiation and chemotherapy treatments, she passed away in 1995. She was laid to rest beside her husband in Arlington. Dashiell Hammet. Hammet, born May 27, 1984, was a writer, screenwriter, and political activist who penned a number of hard-boiled detective novels and short stories. Among the iconic characters he created were Sam Spade of the Maltese Falcon, Nick and Nora Charles of The Thin Man, Continental Op of Red Harvest and the Dane Curse, and the comic strip hero Secret Agent X9. Hammet is known for being one of the best mystery writers of his time. He also wrote screenplays for films like Watch on the Rhine, After the Thin Man, The Glass Key, and Shadow of the Thin Man. In 1918, Hammet enlisted in the U.S. Army. He served as a sergeant in the Motor Ambulance Corps. While serving, Hammet contracted tuberculosis, an ailment that affected him for the remainder of his life. Because of this disease, he never got shipped overseas during World War I. He was discharged in May of 1919. In addition to writing, Hammet devoted much of his life to left-wing activism. Throughout the 30s, he was an avid anti-fascist and in 1937 joined the Communist Party. This move proved to haunt him for decades. During the Second World War, Hammet enlisted in the Army once again after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. He served as a private and was honorably discharged as a sergeant 3 years later. After the war, he returned to activism. He was elected president of the Civil Rights Congress in 1946. The CRC was designated a Communist Front Group by the U.S. Attorney General in 1948. Due to his communist affiliation, Hammet was blacklisted by Hollywood in the late 40s and early 50s. After being brought before the U.S. District Court Judge Sylvester Ryan in 1951 to testify about his work with the CRC, Hammet refused to provide the government with the information they wanted. He flat out refused to give names of individuals who contributed to a bail fund associated with the CRC, meant to assist people deemed to be allies. After being found guilty of contempt of court, Hammet served time in a West Virginia prison. Following his release, his popularity had declined substantially. He was brought before the House Un-American Activities Committee in 1953 to testify about his own activities, but refused to comply with the committee. After being blacklisted, Hammet became a hermit of sorts and fell into alcoholism. He continued to write and do advertising work, but died of lung cancer January 10, 1961. Being a veteran of both world wars, Hammet was buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Audie Murphy. This actor, songwriter, and veteran was born in 1926. Murphy was one of the most decorated U.S. combat soldiers of the Second World War. He received every combat award of valor offered by the U.S. Army, as well as many French and Belgian awards for his heroism. He was honored with the Medal of Honor for Valor for single-handedly holding off a company of German troops for a solid hour at Colmar Pocket in France in 1945. He then led a successful counterstrike while wounded and out of bullets. To make that story even more incredible, Audie was only 19 at the time. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, Murphy falsified documents with the help of his sister so he could meet the minimum age requirement to enlist. He saw action in the Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943 and participated in the Battle of Anzio in 1944. He also participated in the invasion of southern France and the liberation of Rome. After the war, Murphy enjoyed a successful acting career. He played himself in the 1955 autobiographical movie To Hell and Back, which was based on his 1949 memoirs. Following that role, he appeared in numerous westerns while making occasional guest appearances on celebrity TV shows. He also starred in the NBC series Whispering Smith. Murphy was also a talented songwriter and horse breeder. Today, Murphy would have been diagnosed with PTSD. He slept with a loaded gun under his pillow and became addicted to sleeping pills. In his later years, he was plagued with financial problems, but refused to appear in ads for alcohol or tobacco because he didn't want to set a poor example for the youth. Tragically, he died in a plane crash in Virginia in 1971, a few days shy of his 46th birthday. He was laid to rest with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. Now it's time to hear from you. Have you ever visited Arlington National Cemetery? Do you think you'll ever get there? Let us know in the comments section below.